Today, I am honored to be joined by Mr. Fabian Flora, all the way across the oceans from the Netherlands. Hi, Fabian. How are you?
Hi, Simone. I'm good, and you?
Good, good. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining us. I know there's a significant time difference between us. So thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, no problem. And it's actually an honor to be on your platform tonight. I've been looking at many interviews I saw on Facebook, and I'm very happy to be here today to share my journey with you and all of our viewers. So I'm excited.
Good. So tell us who you are.
Well, like you say, my name is Fabian Flora. I'm a Dominican-born Olympic athlete. I'm an international banker, and I'm a family man as well. So I hold many hats, but I try to be the best that I can in every aspect of my life. But this is a brief of basically who I am.
Yes, yes. So I think what Fabian is not telling us is that, in fact, he's a world-class athlete. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to have him tell us about some of his accomplishments, but he actually holds a world record for the Netherlands, where he currently resides. So Fabian, let's just jump right into it. Tell us some of your major accomplishments.
Well, I will actually have to go back all the way to Dominica, because that's the platform, and that's where everything started. You know, I was a Carifta Games under 17 bronze medalist in triple jump. That was a real eye opener for me, and that was the first indication that I had that let me realize that, you know, I do have the potential to be great. At that time, I was trained by Mr. Emmanuel Lovac. It was just an amazing experience while I was attending SMA. And from there, I moved to the US, had a full scholarship, and I just continuously worked on my athletic abilities and tried to improve. I became two-time NCAA All-American, and then from there, just looking at opportunities and just continuing to grow and improve my world rankings. I had an invitation for one of the top clubs in the Netherlands, and they invited me to jump for them. And seeing that I hold dual citizenship, I decided to take the opportunity to capitalize on more opportunities. And 12 years later, I'm undefeated. I'm the best triple jumper in the history of the Netherlands. I'm European clubs and teams champion. And I made it top 25 at the Olympic Games in 2016. And I have the indoor and outdoor records. So all the records that has to do with triple jump in the Netherlands, I basically have them.
Yes, so let me just repeat what Fabian just said. He is the most successful triple jumper in the history of the Netherlands. So for as long as the Netherlands has existed, no one has beaten your record. So just by way of giving us a scope of all of this, where is the Netherlands? Because some of us, you know, we're challenged with geography. So where is the Netherlands?
Well, first of all, the Netherlands is in English is Holland. So most people are more familiarized with Holland. In French, they say Pays-Bas. So the Netherlands is on the western side of Europe. Belgium is to the south, and Sweden and Denmark is to the north, and Germany is to the east. So we're roughly around 30-minute flight from the UK. So very close to England, by the way. Very, very short flight. So that's the location of the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm. And what is the population of the Netherlands, if you would have to guess?
17 million.
Yes. Yes, I just want to put that into perspective, what you just said about being, you know, the record holder for the triple jump in the history of the 17 million people who live in the Netherlands.
Yeah, that's what dashing and feet can do for you, you know?
I like that. So
yeah, thanks.
Yes, congratulations. So now let's go back to where it all began for you. So tell us a little bit about growing up in Dominica.
I would say it was very competitive for me. As you know, first of all, it was always also a challenge as well, because growing up in Dominica, education is number one. Our generation of parents, they believe that the only way you can be successful is by making sure you invest in a good education, get your degree, and start working and you know, invest in real estate and build your family. And then that is the way that they did it. So I had to find myself in a situation where I had to balance playing a lot of sports, because I was also part of the under-20 national football team in Dominica, and I was doing athletics as well. My last year in high school, I actually made the under-20 World Championships for athletics, and I also made the World Cup under-20 for football. So it was very, very competitive, very challenging. And I just found that only after I went to the US that I saw how talented I was, because then I realized that, wow, all the organic food that we were eating and the rugged terrain that people complain about, all the hills and stuff, all those contributed towards making me extremely strong and building all of my joints and my ligaments to a point where once I had that basis of fitness, I couldn't go underneath that. And that basis is basically what has led me to be undefeated in the Netherlands, because no matter how hard anybody trains at this point, they can never pass me, because I've built such a strong basis from my youth in Dominica that you just can't compete. You know, playing football all summer long. When football is over, I'm playing athletics on a competitive level internationally, traveling to Guadeloupe, Martinique, all the Caribbean islands, and then eating healthy, organic food. It was just the best youth you could ever ask for an athlete. And that's basically the secret to my success as far as the basis.
Yeah, so I'm sitting here, Fabian, and I'm sitting here in awe because I'm thinking to myself, why haven't we employed you? And I'm jumping ahead of my conversation, but it just occurred to me, why haven't we employed you to promote Dominica? Because you do such a brilliant job of telling us how that foundation you had growing up in Dominica has served you for your entire life and has made you an elite athlete.
You know, that is a plan that's in the making. I'm actually in contact with the government right now.
Good.
I hope that this is something that could be done very quickly, especially as there's plans to build a new stadium for athletics, probably athletics and football. So I want to be in the forefront of that development, and I am planning to kick off my nonprofit organization next year that is solely devoted in building certain projects in Dominica. So it's not about just sending a box of shoes or clothes. It's about seeing what school or what sports club or what village needs a basketball court, or maybe some football goals or balls or something, and then we could have that project towards that development, and then we can build from there and just keep on going, and then we can really take advantage of the talent that we have, because we do have talent in Dominica. I'm an
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, the other thing that comes to mind is, you know, when we were growing up in Dominica, we complained so much about having to walk everywhere, of the rugged terrain, the sun, too much rain. And yet you're sitting here saying that is exactly what, for, you know, the food, or we don't have, you know, all the different fast food restaurants, we have to eat fig and dashin, you know, and here you are sitting saying that is what fortified you and led to your success.
Basically, and then another thing is that the fact that we didn't have an Olympic stadium or professional stadium, it was sort of like something that was really needed, but at the same time, it did force us to utilize the grass fields that we have. And that is one of the success for Jamaica, for example. They do majority of the training on the grass surface, because why? It's softer on the joints, and it sort of helps you stay healthy. So I've never had any injuries since I was in Dominica. My first injury I received was when I went to university in my first year. So that's to show you how healthy and how careful our system actually is. And then as far as like the diet, I mean, you just can't complain. I can never forget my second year in university. I went to GNC store, it's a nutritional store in the US, and I actually saw a pill that actually was a Dashin pill. There was a Dashin pill for around $25 US, and that
wow, a Dashin pill.
The yams and the Dashin and all the ground provisions that we eat is so beneficial for us, but people just don't realize it.
Yeah, and you know, this is a whole other conversation, but it just seems like we're moving away from that, because we're hearing a lot of people, they don't want to be bothered with peeling dashin and peeling fig and doing all the preparation it takes, but that's a whole other conversation. But let me ask you this, and again, if anyone is just joining us, we're speaking to world-class athlete and international businessman, Mr. Fabian Florant out of Dominica. And we are certainly honored that he is joining us today on Untapped Potential. Now, Fabian, would you say that a lot of your success came because you had natural ability?
I would say it's also my devotion in being great. You know, when we speak about talent, when you compare me to a lot of other athletes around the world, you can categorize me as a talented athlete, but I really see myself as a hard worker. And coming from Dominica, you really, and just generally speaking, coming from the Caribbean, you really have to put yourself in a situation where if you want to be number one, you really have to prove yourself. If you go to school and you want to be number one, you have to earn that respect from getting the A's and the grades. And if you want to be number one in any other sport, you have to win. So I think I basically had the basis of a competitive nature from being raised in Dominica, as far as like failure is not an option, in combination with the talent that I have. But I would say Usain Bolt is a talent. I had to really work hard for what I wanted. I had to invest in a coach, pay him a salary for 4 years, and train for 4 hours every day to get to the Olympics. So it wasn't something that I just woke up and I was already number one. I actually worked to that level. So I am talent, but I am a hard worker as well.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it. Talent with no discipline is null and void. Sure. Because you can have the greatest talent in the world, but if you're not optimizing your performance by pushing yourself, then the talent is going to sit on the shelf.
Yeah, definitely. And I proved that as well from university, because there were many friends that I had that were already world champion caliber athletes when I started college, and they didn't make it to the Olympics, or they never made it as far as I did because they didn't have the discipline to maintain the training throughout their college career and when they will finish. And I did, because I stayed with it. I stayed with the hard training in the sun, in the rain, in the snow. It didn't really matter. I just continued training hard and made up my mind that I'm never going to stop until I achieve this goal. And I did it, basically.
Yeah, now you talk about your coaches in Dominica. Can you tell us a little bit more about who were your mentors and your coaches that really helped you to excel?
Yeah, well, everybody knows Emmanuel Loblack.
Yes.
He's also called Lobi. He's the head coach of Olympians Athletic Club. And I just never forget, one day I was walking from school from SMA, and I was walking through Winter Park, and I saw that there was a really nice club training, and they were very structured and everything. And that gravitated me towards to that club. And when I had a meeting with Mr. Loblack, he said that, that I could join the club. And from that moment is when my career just sort of picked up. And a few months after joining the club, I had qualified for the Caribbean Games, which is the Caribbean Youth Championship Games. And surprisingly, I got a bronze medal coming from Dominica without a track stadium. And I had to compete against Jamaica, Bahamas, all the countries that were fully developed. So that showed you how much talent that we have on the island, and also how good of an inspiration Mr. Loblack was to me at that moment. He really made the path for me to be successful in athletics. And actually, he's the one that introduced me to triple jump. I was mainly sprinting and running in Dominica. And he said, Flora, I want you to try something. I can never forget that day. I will never forget that day. And I said, okay. He's like, I want you to try triple jump. And I said, I'd never heard about that. He actually made a board for me. And he said, I want you to run, hop on one leg, switch to the other one, and jump. And I tried it on my first try. And from that point, it was just a continuous acceleration to the Caribbean Games in Martinique. And then I got a bronze medal there. And at that time, triple jump was very popular in the Caribbean, because we also had Jerome Romain, who won a bronze medal at the 1995 World Championships for Dominica as well. Mm-hmm. So it was something that was very inspirational, and I could look up to Mr. Loblack and also to Jerome Romain as an inspiration to strive to excellence.
And folks like Mr. Loblack, they are our unsung heroes, because I know as a matter of fact, he's still training right now, because I have a friend on Facebook, Michelle Davis. And I know he's one of his trainers as well. And, folks like Mr. Loblack, they do so much with so little, Fabian, that we really have to commend their tireless effort to push Dominican athletes. And look how far you've gotten. And there are countless other people we're probably not even aware of that he has trained, who have gone on to do great things.
I can make a very crazy assumption and say maybe 85% of every athlete that has come out of Dominica, probably at one point, maybe even higher, has gone through Mr. Loblack. Yes. Whether he touched them in school or he had an impact on them through the club, but he has been so instrumental in not only in athletics, but also in football, because he also is a strength and conditioning coach for the football team. And you have always seen his results, and he has it in his heart. I mean, there's no words to really describe how much he has given. He has dedicated his whole life in developing athletics. And, I just wish that we can maybe speed up the process of getting this stadium, and that he can actually, maybe we can even name it after him, but he has to be involved in continuing to develop the talent that we have on the island.
Yeah, certainly. So, if he's never been officially thanked, we want to thank him today for all the tremendous work he does to promote, sports in Dominica. And even for those who may not have advanced as far as you, just teaching them that discipline
Yeah,
that
correct.
comes from being an athlete. You can take that into any particular field that you're interested in. So let's move ahead a little bit and tell us about what the transition was like when you got that scholarship. First of all, how did you feel about getting a scholarship and
I
then
was,
the transition from Dominica to the US?
yeah, I was just excited. The thing about it is, because we didn't have an athletic stadium in Dominica, I was touring all of the islands. I've been to almost every single Caribbean island. So we were at the OECS championship games in Totola, and I was recruited by a coach there that was from St. Kitts, and he said, "Listen, I'm a head coach of a university in the US. I'd like you to compete for us, et cetera, et cetera." And within a month and a half, I did the paperwork and I was gone. Uh,
Wow.
but I was excited for it because it's a target that you have, right? So if you're good in football, then you hope to get recruited by a club. If you're good in athletics, you hope to get a full scholarship to a university, and then you can go on to the next step of earning your degree, but also leading you to a path towards being professional in the sport. So once I got the scholarship, I was gone in 2 months, and then I was just really excited and eager to start my career because I knew what my potential was at that time. And I was just excited because I said to myself, no proper facility, being able to do what I have done with the limited facilities that we have. What if I could just fully get the support that I need and just push?
Yeah.
I was just ready to go. I was excited to get there, and I got there. Of course, it was winter time, so it was cold because I was in.
I'm sure.
I felt the 40. I had to acclimatize right away and just get into the rhythm of things. And yeah, when you focus, it's really easy to transition into things that you know is going to be better for you.
And tell us where in the US you actually ended up?
Yeah, so first I went to Missouri. So I went to Missouri State University. I was two-time NCAA All-American there. And then I did my undergraduate, my Bachelor's of Science in Finance there, and also did my Master's in Business and Sports Management. And after that, through traveling back and forth in Europe, I met a Cuban coach that was really excited to train me because at that time I really didn't have a coach. And he offered to train me. And then from there, I moved on to Florida because the warm weather was so important. And even if I left Dominica and I was talented and I was doing well, I didn't realize at that time how important the warm weather was towards my recovery and my development until I moved down to Florida, which is the same climatic condition of Dominica, and I really started accelerating. So that was kind of like my path. I went to Missouri, went to school there, did my education, did some banking as well while I maintained my professional status, and then from there I moved on to Florida.
Yeah, and I'm listening to you talk and I'm just awed and I'm thinking, why don't we have a more established sports program in Dominica? Because the way I think about it, and I'm sure you know Dunstan Maggie Peters, and he works tirelessly as well. And he's actually secured scholarships for Dominicans to travel to the US as well. So it just seems like there is so much that could be done if we invested more in sports. Now, what would you say to someone who's considering the path that you took? But it seems like such a lofty goal because we do not think of sports as a potential career in Dominica.
Yeah, the thing about it is we have to change our mindset in not thinking of sports as a sort of like a career, but see it as a path towards success. So, for example, see it as if you're a youth in Dominica, you have to see sports as a gateway to get your education for free. Your talent
Right.
expected to perform well, but at the same time, the university is going to reward you by giving you education for free. By the time you
Right.
finish with your degree, you're not going to have any debt and you're going to basically be at
Exactly.
the top of your performance. So that's the first thing, is to see the benefits of having sports, not as a career, but what it can do for you.
So it's a gateway. So maybe we can start encouraging young people to think of the potential of receiving free education if you optimize your sports ability. But then when I spoke with Dunstan, I had him for an interview, and he said, if, for example, a student is not behaving, the parent uses the removal of sports as a punishment.
Correct, because they don't understand that way of life. Like I say, our generation and the parents that we and the new generation that is there in Dominican right now, has not seen sports as a means of being successful. That's it. You have a very small percentage of people from the island making it successfully in cricket, football, and athletics as well. So as a parent, you cannot tell your son or your daughter, okay, you know, just focus on sports, you'll be okay, because there has to be a balance. But if you kind of guide them and teach them how to, or support them in a way that they can balance the sports and the education, that is what's going to make them successful. Because when they go overseas and they get a scholarship, they still have to maintain the grades, because it's not about sports. When you go to the US, if you don't have good grades, you're off the team and you have to go back to Dominica. So it teaches you how to balance very well. So we have to try to accept somebody that's talented and tell them, okay, I know that you're training a lot, but it looks like your grades are being decreased right now, but we need to do something to make sure that your grades stay high while your performance stay high, so that you could have a better balance. And that's what we need, not to take them away from the sport, but to help them achieve better balance, whether that's going to the school, talking to the sports teacher, to the teachers and say, can you help my son or my daughter to have better balance? Don't take them out, but just try to assist them. And that's what we need.
Yeah, yeah. And I almost think of it like a dance, you know, the dance between sports and academics, because the sports teaches you the discipline to focus on your schoolwork. And then the sports also opens doors for you in terms of potentially receiving a scholarship. But I just think we need a little bit of a mindset change in Dominica to see the value in sports. And even if you don't advance to be an elite athlete like you, just think of the health benefits that you will receive from being in sports.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of health equals wealth. And, you know, sometimes you're so successful and you might maybe have all of the money in the world, but if you're not healthy, it doesn't mean anything to you. So the only way to really enjoy life is to be healthy. And then there's many benefits besides just being healthy as well as the sports. The fact that you can finish a 4-year degree, first of all, if you have an international scholarship, you're talking about maybe 30 to 50,000 US dollars per year is what the school is spending for you. You get your clothing for free, your laundry is done, everything is you're treated, and plus you get a salary. So it's really a professional contract that you receive. And then by the time you finish and you go into the work world, you're going to realize that all the American friends that you graduated with have debt, and you don't have debt. So you're ahead of life, you know?
Yeah, but I'm going to be devil's advocate here for a minute, because I'm sure some of our listeners who are listening to you right now are thinking, well, you know, Fabian is the exception to the rule. You know, Fabian is the exception. That's not really what happens. He's talking about all the scholarship and, you know, having a debt-free education, but he's really just the exception. That's not the rule. That's not reality.
I kind of disagree there. Okay, I could be a little bit of the exception, but it's all about how we raise our children and how we guide them towards what we want them to achieve. At the end of the day, everybody needs to get a degree to better themselves and to make sure that they have more opportunities in life. I'm just showing you guys how you can have a different path of helping them to get there. Encourage them to do the sports, push them. If they need a pair of shoes, try to get the shoes for them. And if you see that the grades are lagging behind, then try to see if you can assist them by having extra classes or something, but see the path that they could take to being successful. And it can happen. And there's a lot of Dominicans with talent that could actually get there.
Yeah, and I think it speaks well to observing the natural talent in your children. So yes, we may have some kids who are not a natural athletes like you are, but what are their other talents? Because I think too much we focus on, you know, you have to be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, and we don't see other opportunities like the world of art, the world of music, the world of sports. We have this narrow-minded concept, and then sometimes our children do not get to live their best lives by pursuing their passion, because once you found your passion, you found your purpose.
Yeah, but the thing about it is I don't think that we are qualified enough in Dominica to decide what talent is. Okay, there's over 2,000 universities in the US. Maybe you don't get a scholarship for the Division 1 or the Division 2, but there's so many universities that if we have a system where the kids could be recruited or could be given an opportunity to apply for these colleges by the time they're in fourth form, for example, I'm pretty sure almost everybody can get a scholarship as long as they have the grades, the SATs or the necessary grades to get there. So yeah, not everybody's as talented as me, but does that mean somebody cannot get a musical scholarship, a dancing scholarship? Yeah, there are a lot of different avenues of getting scholarships. It's just that we just don't explore it enough.
Yeah, so I think what we're saying here is just keep an open mind. Just keep an open mind to what your child's passion is, what their interests are, and how you can develop that to potentially get them. Because at this point, everybody needs to go to college, if you ask me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Especially if you live up here in the US, that piece of paper is gold. So you can be the most the most creative person, you know, the most talented person, but unfortunately, if you don't have some kind of certificate or diploma or degree to show that you're competent, a lot of times the doors will not open to you. So I'm certainly enjoying this conversation with you. I'm Fabian, and if anyone is just joining us, we're speaking to world-class athlete, Mr. Fabian Laurent. He's in the Netherlands. He's about, what, 6 hours ahead of us. So he's in the Netherlands, and he's telling us all about his experiences of how he was able to turn his talent, his discipline for sports, and create a path for him out of Dominica and into a whole new world. And what a world it has been, right, Fabian? So how did you end up in the Netherlands?
The people just wondering, how is this guy Dutch, you know? I was born with the Dutch passport because my grandparents worked for Shell in Curaçao, one of the Dutch islands, back in the so because of that, my mom, you know, she has a Dutch passport. I basically inherited the passport. So I always had it. I just never really did anything for it. But when I reached to a point where I would say that I was at the maximum level that I could have achieved for Dominica. In other words, that there was a point where there just wasn't enough funding to make it to the next level, and that is getting to the Olympics. And you know, I had to make a decision. I said to myself, okay, well, I can maybe go to Europe and see if the grass is greener there, or I can just sort of maybe fade and end my career because there's no help. I got to a point where I had a professional coach. He wanted a salary. I wanted to get some funding. I couldn't get that funding, and I couldn't work and do that at the same time. So you know, at 25, I just took the leap of faith, and I messaged the federation there. They invited me to a meeting, and that was it, because my distance already was more than the Dutch record. So for them, it was a no-brainer. Like, okay, you can come and we'll see how it goes. And from there, I just took advantage of the opportunity and I just accelerated. Because for me, even if I was going to represent the Netherlands, I saw it as an opportunity for me to really maximize my potential and see in what way I can give back to Dominica and see how I can get them or any other Dominican to sort of maximize the potential. So that's basically how it went.
Right. So you took a leap of faith by sending that email
That
and
email,
saying, hey, take a look at me.
yeah, I just sent an email, copy of the passport, and I say, this is me. Let me know what's possible. And they responded right away and they say, let's go, you know? And I said, okay. And I think after receiving the email, 1 month later, I was invited to the best athletic club in the Netherlands. And then that was it.
Wow.
I spent every summer there doing international competitions like the European Championships, the World Championships, etc. And then it just accelerated from there.
So you talk about needing sponsorship, being able to pay your coaches, and I think for a lot of athletes that's a concern as well. So along the way, how have you been able to pay for your coaches without having a major sponsor?
Yeah, well, before I got my first sponsorship was with Asics, the running brand, and then later on I was with Adidas. But before I got to that point, even when I was in Dominica and before I got my scholarship, I think I was around 16 or 17. I said to myself, well, you know, your athletic ability is limited. So at one point you have to stop and you have to depend on your career. So I made a plan at that age to not really give up on my my career and my degree, but to make sure that is in balance with what I was trying to achieve. So while I was doing my undergrad, I was also working in banking. I was working with Wells Fargo, and I basically funded myself. So I just worked really hard, a lot of overtime, and I took that extra salary and I basically paid my coach until I was ranked top 10 in the world. And then I got my full contract. And then that's when everything just snowballed into making it to the Olympics.
Wow. So having a plan, very important.
Yeah, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Amen.
I'm a big advocate for that. I just made sure that I made a proper plan towards being successful. As soon as I exited college, I made sure that I worked in the bank. I maintained that as my source of income. And I just kind of worked around that with my training and with my coaching. I explained to the coach that I'm a full-time banker, but if he comes to me in Missouri, that we can work it out where we can train after work and we can do it. And he was okay with it. And I just paid him a salary, and I just went with the flow, and I maintained that until I was good enough to not work.
Yeah, but Fabian, I can hear the voices in my head and what people are saying, and they're probably saying, well, that's well and good to have a plan, but so many of us start on a journey, and when it becomes really difficult, like balancing a full-time job and full-time coaching and obligations to sports, and I'm sure you had to go to a lot of hits and a lot of events, and it just becomes too much. And then we say, you know what? Something's got to give. Why did you never got to that point? What keeps you going?
Yeah, well, discipline and the drive, like, you know, the difference between patience and discipline. Patience is waiting for one target, one goal. It could be short term, like, you know, a kid telling his parent, well, I want to get this pair of Air Max or something. And the parents are like, okay, if you get an A, I'll give it to you. But discipline is getting the A's as long as possible and not knowing if your parents really going to give you the shoes, you know?
Right.
So that discipline is very important. If you make a goal for yourself, especially if you know that if you achieve that goal, it has a lifetime impact on your life. You just stick to it. I had so many difficulties in terms of managing the coach and training, the cold weather and everything, but I just kept on going because I felt like unless I made it to the Olympics, I wouldn't know if I've given I've reached my full potential.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose I was in Dominica, we didn't have an athletic stadium. I know that I didn't reach my full potential, so I pushed myself to get the scholarship. Now that I'm in university, I said to myself, okay, I've never had a professional coach with me all the time. I need to experience that to know for sure when to shut it down, when to continue. Unless I had that, I wasn't going to stop because I would end up living my life saying, hey boy, I could have been this person, I could have been that. I didn't want to ever have any regrets. So what I did is in my planning, I made sure that I didn't have obligations that would defer me from my plan. So I kind of just made sure that everything was simple, that my expenses were kind of low, that I maintained the job in the bank, and that I kept everything flexible in a way that I can always move and travel and do what I have to do. So the more you take on your plate, is the harder it is for you to achieve your goal. You cannot be working full-time, trying to train, and then you have all kinds of other things going on in the background. It's just not going to happen. You have to keep it limited so that you're flexible in trying to achieve your goal. And that's basically what I did in my planning.
Yeah, so I'm hearing you saying two things that I'm very impressed with. I think what I'm hearing you saying is you always remembered where you came from. And
100%.
it's so true because I feel the same way too. You always remember what you did not have access to. So you always remember not having that professional opportunity in Dominica, not having a major stadium, a major structural program, and just having that hunger so that when you got the opportunity, you knew you would just excel. And I also hear you saying that you always wanted to meet your full potential. You know, the name of the radio show is Untapped Potential.
Yeah.
I think I need to change the name because of you. But just wanting to get to the top of your potential. So am I hearing you correctly?
Correct. That's 100% correct. Inside, I like to feel like I'm the type of person that I get worried, and it stays on my mind a lot if I feel like I didn't give something my all. So when I look at my path to success from the time I was a youth in Dominica all the way to my senior championships, I just made sure that when I go to practice every day that I give it everything, and that when I leave I feel accomplished. And like I said, I always look back of where I came from, what I had, and what I needed, and then what I need to basically be successful. That's what I make sure I focus on. Like, okay, I know I need to have good facilities. I know I need to have good physiotherapists, a good team to build, and I also compare myself with other Olympic world champions that I train with, and I see what they have. And unless I have that, I'm not going to know if I reach my full potential because I've not really fully gotten everything that I need. So that's always in the back of my mind, and that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, and I think the lesson here for all of us is sometimes we look at successful people like you and we see everything that's involved in your success now, but we don't realize that you started with nothing. You started with nothing. You started with your talents and your discipline. That's all you started with.
That's all. This discipline. I just made up my mind that I was going to be the best that I could be in athletics. And after I won multiple championships in Dominica, I proved myself. Then I went overseas. I was top 3 in the Caribbean. I proved myself. Then I made it to the World Junior Championships. And I just said to myself, okay, if I'm doing all that stuff, eating that shouldn't fig and training on grass, what would happen if I have full supplements? I have an Olympic stadium, I have a physiotherapist and all that stuff. I have to make it to the Olympics. It's impossible. And that's basically what I did for myself.
Yes,
So
yes.
back home, I have to think like that. If you're a musician and you've been playing in a band and you know that, the studio that you have is not the best, but if you have the best studio, you can provide more vocals and stuff. You have to get to yourself to try, make an album in that way and see if it will really, be that way, and same thing with studying. If you study and you just get in B's and you know that, man, if I have this computer, I'll be able to do more research and I can get an A. You have to, unless you do that, you should not be satisfied. You should always push yourself to that limit.
Absolutely. So it sounds like the Olympics was always your goal. So you did everything you did because you knew that if you made it to the Olympics, then you had reached the top of your potential. So tell us about that experience when you got your first invitation to join the Olympics.
Yeah, okay, so in my planning, I try to see what is the highest level I could achieve. In education, that's being a doctor, PhD, right? You cannot really go any further than that unless if you want to go to the moon or something, then it could be a science. And then I said, okay, in sports, what's the highest achievement? Olympic athlete is 0.001% of the world population. If you have that, if you have made it to the Olympics, you're basically one in how many millions or billions of people. And then you're basically a doctor in the sport. You have reached the highest level. So when I did the best in Dominica, then I was one of the best in the Caribbean. Then I made it to the World Junior Championships. Then I went to the university. I proved myself. I won there. Then the next move was the professional. I said to myself, well, you know what? Athletics have given me free education. It has given me a good job in banking because in the American culture, once you have a sports background, they don't really care about the degree because everybody's applying with a degree. They just say, wow, you're a professional athlete, you have discipline, you have drive. We want that kind of a character in our job, in our company. So it did everything for me except for reaching the maximum. And that maximum for me was getting to the Olympic. I just continued trying, and I evaluated what I needed at that point, the gaps, closing the gaps to basically get there. I got the full-time trainer. I moved to Florida for the warm weather. I built a team. I make sure I had a physiotherapist, sponsored for a car company. Everything that I needed, I make sure I had it. And then I hit the qualification in Florida. I went to a competition there. I jumped the Olympic limit. And then that basically changed everything because now on my path to the Olympics, everything that I've done, it actually equated to the positive results I was looking for. So now the formula that I created worked.
Yes.
And actually, the year of the Olympics, it was crazy because at that time, I didn't even have a coach.
Wow.
I didn't have a coach at that point because my contract ended with my coach. And I said to myself, okay, I've learned everything all my life, even going back from what Mr. Lovelock taught me. And I said, okay, this is the point where I feel like I can write my own program and I can actually make it. So I bought an exercise book the year before the Olympics, and I wrote down every single thing in detail for different types of training. If it was raining, if it was snow, it was hot, temperature, different way my body will react. And I followed the book to the T. And then even down to the time when I actually qualified, I hit the qualifications at that time. And then that is when I had more confidence in what I was doing. And I realized that, okay, you have this under control. And I hit the qualification and that was it.
Wow. Now remind us which Olympics you went to.
The most recent, the 2016 Rio Olympic Games.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah, I hit the limit and then I got prepared there and I went to a training camp in Portugal. We were there for 3 weeks. I had the opportunity to be coached at that time with Ryan Areda, which is the best, one of the best coaches in the world. My training partner was a world Olympic champion in triple jump. So everything synced in very well as far as like what I was hoping for. I can now say that I've been coached by the best of the best. I had a training partner that was the best of the best. So that actually helped my mental state going into the Olympics. When I got there, it was just like a normal competition. There was no nervousness. There was no anxiety. It was just like a normal day of training. And I was on there and stuff. I had my second best performance of the year there. And it just came in and went out so quickly and stuff. And that's basically how it works, you know. The opening ceremony and the closing ceremony is what the hype is. But once you're actually in the Olympic Games, it's really just like a normal competition for all of the top athletes because you have to maintain that level of professionalism to be able to perform.
Yeah, and you have to be able to stay calm and not get nervous of the, you know, thousands and millions of people watching you on the media.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why having a really good, solid group makes a difference. You know, your training partners, if they're experienced and not, you know, really nervous and, oh my God, if I'm going to perform, kind of just relax, like, okay.
Especially when you see other famous athletes, you're like, oh my God, Usain Bolt, and then your head is spinning all over the place and you forgot what you came to do.
You can get distracted. And I always say people, there's 3 different types of people that make it to the Olympics. You have the people that the athletes I call the tourists. They just want to be there. They don't care whatever happens. They want to take pictures and stuff. And then you have the second group of people that really want to come and perform and see, you know, how well they can perform. And then you have the third group of people that are already experienced athletes and they're going for the gold medal. And these are the people that are just focused on winning their second gold medal and stuff. And those are the 3 types of athletes that make it to the Olympics.
Yeah. Now, speaking of repeat Olympic performers, you also qualified for Tokyo 2020, didn't you?
Well, there's a lot of changes that happen within the qualification. So recently they changed, and the rules is that you have to be top 35, 32 in the world, and the top 32 goes. That's the second qualification. But then they implemented a point system compared to the last Olympics. So you earn points throughout the world competitions that you do. If you win your national championships, you get the maximum points. That point system, in collaboration with your distance that you jump, puts you in the top, for example, 50, and then they select the top 32. The second way of getting into Olympics is by hitting the A standard, and that's just a very high standard that you hit, and if you hit that standard, that you go in. So I'm still working on achieving those qualifications, because since COVID happened, a lot of things have changed and shifted, and then I have to go into the qualifications from January till June is the qualification.
Yeah, because that is what I was going to ask you. You know, you do all that preparation. You've done years of preparation, and then to hear that the Olympics for 2020 is postponed. I mean,
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Well, it was devastating, because I was planning to retire after this Olympics, because I said, okay, I've really given it everything that I had. I'm exhausted, because it does take a lot of effort and time and energy. Don't forget, we're talking about, for the past 30-something years of my life, I've not been able to really party as much as other people think. I can't drink. I don't really drink. I had to really take that discipline throughout all my life. I've really not enjoyed time with friends and family, because, you know, athletics is a year-round thing. We start training in September to prepare for the next year. Then January time comes, it's indoor. Indoor lasts until March, and then you start your outdoor season. Outdoor season in America is from March till June, and then the European season starts from June till October, and then you have 1 month off, and I've been doing that schedule for my entire life. Mm-hmm. So I've sacrificed so much just to maintain that professional level, that I'm actually looking forward to a rest as well. I would like to be normal and just give back to the community and see in other ways I can contribute towards the development of sports and stuff. So it takes a lot. And now I have to replan again to go to Tokyo 2021. And yeah, when I heard the news, it was devastating, because I said, wow, okay, I've already planned for a whole year, and now all of my planning is useless, because now there's no Olympics, and we don't even know if there will be one in 2021. There's speculations that the Japan Prime Minister wants to have a vaccine first. And if there's no vaccine, the game is not going to go. Of course, there's a lot of politics and a lot of sponsoring that's involved. So yeah, it's going to be advertised as happening. But if the vaccine is not in full effect, it's not going to happen. What about the athletes? If I'm going to take a vaccine that maybe is going to jeopardize my health, I'm not going to do it. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy that I've already achieved the Olympics, and this one will be a bonus for me. But if it doesn't happen, I'm okay.
Yeah, certainly. I completely agree with you, because it seems like your whole life has been sacrifice and deferred gratification.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, you should write a book. There should be a movie on you, because, you know, you laid out a plan, you worked, and you executed it, and it's almost like you're ready to start a different season of your life now.
Right. Yeah. Mainly focusing on just giving back, family, spending time with my son, and just, you know, focusing on creating a future for them, and also for the people that I inspire, because I know that, you know, my audience is very diverse. I have, you know, Dominicans, I have Americans, I have Dutch people, I have Europeans, and sometimes I forget how much people that I influence around the world, because I have random messages on my social media, maybe triple jumpers from India or somewhere in Asia, and they look at my profile and they said, you know, you've really inspired us to do well, and I'm struggling and I don't know what to do. But when I look at your videos and I look at your inspiration, it really makes me push to that next level. So I want to always maintain a positive profile that could inspire people to do great.
And now thinking of talking about what's next for you, I read on your profile, you're also a PhD student. Do you have any more potential, Fabian?
We're going to the moon. No,
I'm coming with you.
Let's go. You know, get a whole Dominican group there. Like I said, when I started planning for my life, one of the things that I wanted to achieve was just to reach the maximum that I can in every avenue of life. And the PhD is just a lifetime goal that I would like to achieve. There's no real expiration on it. I just want to knock it off. I got accepted into the university, Northern Arizona already. It's online. I've already started, but I've not really continued as much as I want because there's so much other things going on, including the Olympics. But it's a lifetime goal that I'd like to achieve. I've already done the Olympic thing already. Like, that was the highest of the highs, and I'm a doctor in sports already. Now I just want to make sure that I get the PhD so that I can have the credentials to be able to be more of a motivational speaker and show people the path to success.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that, because that's why I got a PhD too, because
Great.
you just feel the need to reach the pinnacle.
Yeah.
Right? You've done all this work, you've exercised all this discipline, and you feel like for a personal gratification, not for any other reason, because I had no clear path like wanting to become, you know, the dean of a university or the president of a university. I've always been interested in education. But for me, it was like this personal yearning that if I did not feel like, you know, like you'd be considered a PhD in sports because you've made it to the Olympics. Yeah. I just felt like all the work I had done before would not be as good if I didn't have the cherry on top of the pie, the PhD. So I see what you're saying.
So from within, and it's a personal thing. Some people are leaders, some people are followers, some people are just okay with the minimum. And if that's how you live your life, okay. But if you're a person that always strive for excellence and you keep on pushing and pushing, if you're already smart and you know how to write the papers, and you have an idea and you have gone through some adversities and you can have your thesis, why not just do it? Just follow that path, and then you can be successful. It can happen.
Yeah, certainly. So as we get ready to wind down, and I could speak to you all day, Fabian, so I hope you'll come back and speak with us again as you start this new phase of your life outside of sports. Hopefully we can have Tokyo 2021 out of the way so you can venture in other directions. So just tell us, as we get ready to wind up, what's next for you? You talk about your nonprofit organization. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's something that's been in the back of my mind for many years since I made it successfully, because for me, being a product of Dominica, it's very hard to enjoy my successes without contributing back home in some kind of a way. Like, no matter how successful I am, no matter how much Olympics I make, no matter how much money I make, how much corporate environment that I get exposed to, I just feel like something is missing, and what I'm missing is an attachment to Dominica. So I've been thinking of launching my nonprofit organization next year that specifically targets the diasporas, the Dominicans that are overseas, and also specific projects in Dominica. I don't want it to be political based, because I know everybody that's overseas have the different views of Dominica and everything. I just want to have it where we have a platform where we can develop sports and education in Dominica. This is the project for this year. If you would like to donate, this is what it's going to be like. And then I'd like it to be very transparent as well. I think we have enough people overseas that can make a significant change towards the development of sports and education in Dominica. Yes, we do have a government in place, but we also can do something on our own as well to kind of kickstart and stimulate that type of process. And that's basically going to be the basis of the foundation, is to target a specific education and sports project, and then try to execute that project every year until we accomplish a nice portfolio of accomplishments that we have achieved in the island, whether that's a basketball court, basketballs, footballs, an athletic long and triple jump pit at a school, or maybe a gym. We have no proper gym structure in Dominica, and that's the foundation for strength.
Fabian, we don't even have a proper playing ground.
Exactly.
We don't have a proper play with swings and slides.
Exactly. All that is part of development. What if we can create a system where, okay, people say like, okay, every month I get paid, I'm going to put a couple dollars aside. That's going to be towards this national gyms center that is free for all students that are in Dominica, but anybody else outside will pay a contribution. That will maintain the equipment and the building. Like those are things that we need. We want to be the next Jamaica in terms of using sports as a platform of advertising and promoting the island. But to do that, we need to have the foundation. Foundation means that we need to have a proper gym and facility that the athletes can actually go to and get stronger and build their talent, and then export themselves to the US where they can get free education and then give back to the country, because you have to always think of where you come from. And no matter how successful I am, I will never neglect the fact that I'm a product of Dominica, because that's actually what made me successful today.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Happy to hear that you're doing such wonderful things and you're planning to give back to Dominica. Now, in terms of reaching out to you, especially if anyone wants to assist with that project going forward, do you have some contact information you can leave with us?
Yeah, you can reach me on my social media. All my social media is at FabJumper. You could just search my name, Fabian Florant. You can find me. You can send me a message. But I really want to take this seriously. I don't mind traveling to different major Dominican-based cities in the US, like Atlanta, New York, and really have a nice little meeting to just discuss the plans and what we can actually achieve, and try to make it as transparent as possible. Because one thing I've noticed with a lot of Dominicans that are overseas is everybody's really scared on who they give their money, where their money is going, and not sure if it's going to go to the right things. And I want them to actually trust me that, that if we do this together, that we can actually deliver and create this opportunity for the youth that we have.
Yes, certainly. So if you've been listening, we've been listening to world-class Olympic athlete, Mr. Fabian Florant. He's joining us from the Netherlands, and we want to say congratulations to him. We're very proud to call him Dominican, as he continues to soar and he continues to reach for higher heights in sports and in business. So as we get ready to end the program, Fabian, do you have any final thoughts for us?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want you to continue doing the platform. Push Past 10 is wonderful. It's creating opportunities. And another thing is that I don't think people realize how much effort it takes to actually have a platform like this. It's not just a matter of putting the camera on and getting a Dominican to speak. There has to be editing, there has to be research. So it takes a lot of effort, and I want to thank you for that. I want you to continue doing it, because you do show the potential of our island, and you do show that, what we have in Dominica and how great it is. So continue that. And I just want to tell everybody that's in Dominica right now, if they have any, inspiration or dreams of being successful, just make a proper plan, because you have to plan first. And then when you make the plan, you can see how you can actually get to your target. And that's one of the most important things that I did. And I believe if they do the same thing too, they can actually be successful.
Yes, well, thank you so much for the kind words, Fabian. Again, it was wonderful meeting you, and thank you for accepting my invitation to be on the program. And I look forward to following your continuing success and hopefully having you back on the program again.
Definitely. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. And thank you for staying up late to be with us.
No problem.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye.